All right. Good evening, everybody. We're in for another Mastermind call on Wednesday, the 13th of April. So, about tax time, right? Everybody's got theirs done after. Boo!
Boo.
I know, yeah, right.
Come
Mine
on,
is,
Paula. We're supposed to be positive here.
Oh, well, we get a couple extra days because
yeah.
the holiday weekend or whatever falls on a Friday, Good Friday or something. So Dr. Kress, who was just talking to us about some team things that you want to get more out of your team, and you want to know with the issues that are going on, is it me? Is it what question do you have for us? Tell us again what you'd like to know. What would you like to discuss with the group? That's a really
Oh,
good
well,
question.
I don't know. I'm high energy, I'm motivated, I'm driven, I'm ready to go. And nobody else is. So I show up to the meeting gung ho and I'm like, yeah, and I compliment. I gave flowers to the hygienist today, hygiene day, do all this, and then I'm like, hey, do your job. You know, I don't know. I over communicate probably, so I try to step back, but it's just like, I don't know. I know the results I want, and sometimes I get them, but not always.
Yeah,
So
right,
I
right.
think too, we're trying to figure out where do you draw the line from I'm going to continue to pour into this person. I'm going to continue to try to create accountability. I'm going to continue to try to create clarity of expectation. But at some point you go, this just isn't working out.
right.
And I think sometimes it's just hard to, figure out where do you draw that line. And because I think everything that she's communicated with her team member is reasonable.
Yeah.
The expectation is clear, but yet the results that come back are not they're not meeting the expectation at all.
That may have to shift from, I mean, y'all probably talked about shifting from management to leadership conversation. Hey, Ted.
Hey,
Um, so if we're constantly talking about the same thing and we're not getting results, we have to stop talking about the task and shift to leadership, like the why, right? So, Eric, I had a conversation today, and this was just kind of an epiphany for me with somebody. I'm going to share the why, how, what. We talk about this all the time. This Simon Sinek
Yep.
why, how, what. So this also applies to team. You know, they come in and we give them tasks to do. That's the what, and we tell them how we want that done. But rarely do we talk about why. So, what if we flipped that and talk about the purpose, why we want to do this, what the vision is for that, and then how, and then what? So we get it backwards. Not only with case presentation, in case presentation, the why is the condition or what the patient's dominant buying motive is, or their hot button or their motivator, and then we tell how we're going to accomplish that for them and partner with them, and then what does that involve. But we usually start with, well, you need to come back for a couple of rounds, and. So let's take this to the team with the what, how, and the why. So give me an example, like the what without the why. Does anybody think of something? We're telling the team what to do and how to do it, but we haven't put the why in there. Can you give me an example? Dr. Watson, can you think of one? Are you on mute?
we want you to be ready to present treatment before we even come in the room. So when we come in the room, all we have to say is, yes, that's right. That's the what.
There you go. There you go. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Okay. And so how does that translate? Does your team just automatically do that, or do you have to go farther?
Automatically do that? Are you dreaming?
So I think of another one, Eric, the new patient research form on the phone.
Oh my gosh, anything that the team goes, why do I have to jump through these hoops? They'll even tell you, why are we doing this? They'll even ask you for the why. Why are you why do we have to do this training? Why, I don't, they'll say, what's your vision? Vision is a part of your why. And so, hey, I want it this way, I want it this way, I want it this way. and our brains are sometimes wired to go, but I see a different vision. I see it a different reason why, or I see it going a different direction, instead of going one level deeper, like Paula just pointed out. That's actually the upper view of a cone. When you go down a cone and you're looking down at it, and you go, the why is the tip. Look at this cone this way, and you go, how we do it, what we do it, why. And the why is the very, very, very tip. And a lot of times we spend all our time down here on the foundation. We're not taking time to get them really understanding the top of that leadership rung. And I would lead with, it's so important for Betty to have healthy mouth because her grandfather lost her teeth. And that's why it's important for her to talk about saving her teeth with these regards. Flip it to team member Paula, right? And I say, Paula, I have this vision for our marketing plan.
There you go.
And it really has to do with inviting this type of person for this type of treatment. And this is why we're doing this, to reward them, because that's why we're doing this service. We're offering this open house. We're doing this Invisalign Day. Why are we doing that? And so what I want you to do to match that is 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, or ask them, what ideas do you have on how we can accomplish that?
What do you think about that?
I love that. That's a great explanation. I like sharing the purpose and the vision of the system that we're talking about, empowering the team, and then you make the final decision. That's a 3-step process too. So I think the end result of the why of what we're trying to accomplish, go back to the new patient phone research. I want the patients to feel connected. I want them to feel like, wow, this office is different. This is not your typical office. They're spending time with me. They're asking me questions that no one's ever asked me before. They're interested in me. They're wowed by this phone call. That's the why right there. And so how are we going to accomplish that is the next step. And well, it sounds like we need to be organized. I don't want to repeat the same questions. That's an echo there. I don't want to ask the same questions. I had an associate tell me this the other day. I don't want to ask the same questions of the new patient that the admin team or somebody else has already asked them. So how do I avoid that? And I'm like, oh, that's a great question. You got a good why there. You want to follow the natural law of research. So I don't know, Dr. Kress, if we're helping out with your question here, but
there was one thing that Eric said, and I think it was related to Dr. Kress, was about how many times do you go to the same person and talk about the same thing? And something I got from Bill Hybels on that was, after you've spoken to someone about the same issues, whatever issue it is, multiple times, you might need to go back to them and say, we've talked about this issue several times, and now we need to talk about a different issue. And the different issue is, what is it about this issue that we cannot solve?
That's good.
So
that's awesome, Dave.
Now we have to talk about why this isn't happening, even though we've talked about it.
That is shifting from management to leadership. That's exactly right. The management is about the task, leadership is about the people and why the task isn't being carried out. So excellent. That's great. Dr. Kress, anything else you want to share or ask? You're on mute, by the way.
Didn't want to interrupt the other. Sorry. No, this particular task, it's an administrative assistant position I have that does marketing, and he's creating a flyer, and I literally listed the bullets. That's what he said he wanted. He's straightforward. I am too. I said, here's what I want. He shows it to me. Literally nothing's on it that I asked for. He does it again. And I literally this time highlight and said, hey, this, and I try to be positive. This is what I like about it. But what about this? He did it like 3 times. Like, I'm like, so I said, hey, pull up the email. Let's just read through it. Did you get the email? He's responding to that email, but I don't know. There's just something off, and it's like freaking me out. I finally just hired it out. I'm done. I texted him. I said, we're just going to regroup tomorrow. I've got to find him something else to do. He can't do it,
Sometimes you can use the apology statement. Anybody remember the apology? Ted, I bet you remember that.
Yeah.
of,
I'm sorry that I gave you a task that you weren't equipped to do, and I'm gonna try to find something else that fits your abilities or something on that order. Yeah.
yeah, or just, I just apologize. We're not on the same page and I don't know where I've lost you. Help me understand where I lost you. I don't know.
The classic apology close is,
Yeah.
I have to apologize to you. Obviously, I've thought that we have communicated well, and obviously I haven't been able to communicate what I want because it hasn't happened. And what is it that I've done wrong that's helped,
good.
that's made it so that it hasn't worked out this way?
That's good. That's taking ownership. I love that, Dave. Instead of like, what about this do you not understand?
Right.
That's not the way we would say it. All right, great question. I put topics in the email, and those are there if no one has anything to talk about. But this is great discussion right out of the gate. So thanks so much. Who else has a question or a comment, or tell us what's going on in your world? Dr. Singh, do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question, but you just a moment ago you talked about not to repeat the same questions when we, for the new patient. So we used to do that a lot.
Oh yeah.
New patient, and then assistant she will go through those. We have about 7 questions that we ask the new patient interview, and then I go and she will repeat those back to me. So,
oh, that's good.
Yes. But I thought there was a lot of repetition of the same thing, and I was also taking some time to do that. So we actually combined that into 2. So now what we do is when the new patient comes in, my assistant welcomes to the patient to my office where my personal space is. And she comes in with the patient, and I, greet the patient, welcome them, offer them refreshments, and then the same questions that she was going to ask. Now I asked the patient, we're sitting knee to knee, eye to eye, and we just having a conversation, not scripted, but just, how did you hear about us, and what are your expectations, what are your goals, how did you, what can we do to make you feel comfortable here? What didn't work out in the last practice or with your last home visit? So I feel like patients really feel very comfortable with that type of approach. We save time. We don't have to do it twice. And they get to meet the doctor with a very welcoming, greeting meeting, which is probably 5 minutes or so. And we don't have to repeat a lot of the questions that they told assistant. Now assistant tells me in front of the patient, and I may ask questions. I may get questions out of questions there. So it takes a lot of time. So I think this actually works really well, and we have had great results with it. We do an exit interview for every new patient also. And that's another one we ask them, so how did everything go? How could we have done better today? But I think they really like that. We save time, and we don't have to repeat ourselves again.
That's good. That's important.
Yeah, just something to take off from that. There's good repetition and bad repetition. The bad repetition, I think, is what we're just talking about, asking the patient the same question. One person asks them and another person asks the same question.
What brings you in today?
Another person. I'm sorry?
What brings you in today?
Yeah, that's already been answered.
So what brings you in today?
So the patient thinks these people don't know what they're doing. They're not talking to each other. I've already answered this question. That's bad.
Yeah.
The good repetition is when the patient gives information to say to the assistant, the doctor walks in, the assistant says, Mrs. Smith has just shared with me, blah, blah, blah. She'd like to have her smile taken care of because she's got a wedding coming up. That repetition of what the patient has said in front of the patient to another person, says, these people got it together, they're communicating, and now this, the doctor coming in, now he understands what I've already shared. I don't have to repeat it again. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome.
I think Ted's right on. It's in because I learned that from Ted, and Dr. Singh. What you're doing is actually what I used to do, and it's a very good technique, and you will develop rapport with your patients very quickly. The other way to do it is to have your assistant do those questions alone, and then come to you, and instead of 5 minutes, in 1 minute, can go over all the things that the patient said. Then you go in and say hello to the patient and share with the patient what the assistant has told you. Now the patient realizes that that person has been listened to, that they've been listened to, and that your team is communicating with you. So it's similar to what Ted said. I'm not saying that you need to go in that direction, because like I said, what you're doing works extremely well also, but it might take even a little less time.
When you're seeing new patients multiple ways, because we're trying to grow, because we're trying to expand how many new patients we see, and you can only see so many one way at a time, and exam typing comes into play. Now you rely on your assistant to walk in the room and say, hey, Ricky Bobby, I see you talked to Karen on the phone. She told me that this many years, this is how you've heard of us, blah, 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 and expands upon that research and keeps developing rapport. Great, I'm gonna let Dr. Singh know, and she gets started with x-rays or whatever, and either in the room, doctor walks in, it's transferred right in front of doctor. That rapport is now, continued into doctor relationship, or I leave the room, go tell Dr. Singh, and now he walks in the room and says, verification of research. Oh, Eric told me that. Talk to Karen on the phone and blah, 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 blah. And you share with Eric this. And so now the patient knows We called this confidence in your competence. You're building credibility in every step along the way. Credibility is confidence, your competence. They have no idea how good of a clinician you are until they hear all of these things happening in a very almost perfect way. It just works into their subconscious so well. They go, wow, they really know what they're doing.
Yep. It makes them feel safe and secure, and it builds trust. We talk about trust a lot with Dr. Morgan and Dr. Peer. All right.
I have another question for, this is regarding Dr. Dr. Kress's question. So since you have hit that roadblock, where you have talked to that person and it's not going anywhere, what is your next thing? What you're going to do about that? How you're going to talk to them? If you could.
Yeah. Well, this position is part-time and it was very specific. I mean, I hired this gentleman to do a certain task, which is social media marketing mainly. We're having an event this weekend, and then we have another one in June, and I literally needed to save the date for the next event to be given out this Saturday. And it turns out, I just think print marketing is not his forte. He's a very talented young man. He really is. He has his own business. He sews clothes. He's real interesting. So I'm just going to shift gears, but I'm going to let him tell me that. He's young, and he's come to me. He's like, I really like what you're doing here. Like, he looks up to me, and that's what breaks my heart. And I'm like, Eric, I don't want to crush him, Well, and he's like 6'8" or something. He's like huge, but anyway, he's skinny, tall, whatever. So I told him that we'd meet just to give him the heads up. I wanted to let him know he was off the hook. So I let him know tonight. I said, hey, the printing company is just going to take care of that design, so you don't have to worry about it. But let's regroup tomorrow. And so tomorrow we're going to go in. And I shared with Eric a meeting I recently had with him, going over the concerns. Hey, here's what I love. Here's what you're really doing well. Yeah. Here's what I need help with. And he agreed. He's like, oh, yeah. And he owned it. He's like, yeah, I know I messed up. He's just struggling. He's got some stuff going on in his personal life. So I'm going to let him tell me what would work for him as far as hours. How many hours? I think he's biting off more than he'd chew. Yeah. So tell me he can work only 10. That's fine. But I don't want to lose him. And I want to try to encourage the good, get the good out of him. So making TikToks and reels, he's really good at that. I certainly can't do it. So I do need him. But we just got to kind of hone in on what he needs to be doing.
And the lead for that, Dr. Singh, is the crucial conversation lead, where you actually begin with the end in mind. And you say, Jess, I want to sit down and have a real positive conversation with you about how we work together best moving forward, so that we're on the same page. with just our working relationship. So let's go over some stuff. And you begin with the end in mind in that conversation, and then it will unfold. The rest will really take care of itself if you're really listening.
Good questions. Okay, I want to ask a question, just a mastermind from you guys. What are you doing about supplies right now? How are you finding good deals? Are you just sticking with one rep like you used to do, or are you shopping around, or what are you finding right now? Because this is with inflation being, what is it, Eric, 8.5? It was just announced, but really it could be 13, 15. What are you guys doing with your budgets? Want to hear from you.
I think dentistry is up 18% over a 10-year period. I don't know about 1 year, but 18% over a 10-year period before last year, the last 10 years before last year.
Yeah.
Dental fees or dental costs, Eric?
Costs.
We ordering it from different places. We work with Patterson,
Yeah.
and we order some from them. We order some from Benko. We do order some from Shine, so I want to keep everybody happy there. And we also order some from Net 32, I believe. That's an online ordering.
Net 32.
Net 32. They have some good deals many times.
Okay, is that like a website? Is it online?
I think so. I think it's at net32.com. My assistant orders it. I believe it's net32. If you Google it, it should come
Yeah,
up.
that's what I'm gonna look here and see what I can find.
Darby has the best deals I've ever found.
Darby.
Darby.
I hear a lot about Darby. Yeah. Net 32 dental supplies. Here we go. Let me pull it up. Okay, so we can see what we're looking at here. Net 32, you're right. And so it's got general dentistry, ortho, perio, oral surgery. So is there something specific you found that's a really good deal there, or?
You know, I personally don't know the details. My assistant does, but I haven't paid attention to what she's ordering from that, but I do see that we do order a lot from her.
Okay.
Look at the cavi wipes. It says they're $5 and they're normally like 40 something. Hey, I'll take 3 cases, you know, or whatever. That's crazy. I don't know what, 88% off.
Wow.
They're used. They're expired.
Yeah, I'll say there's an empty box there or something, or that's
That's just the shipping. Yeah.
That's their lost leader to get you in.
Yeah, we normally don't order any like materials that we have to use chairside. We do order disposables like, you know, saliva ejectors, patient napkins, bibs, gloves,
Right.
stuff like that.
Okay. Net32.com, Darby. Who else? Is anybody in a supply club? Those groups, I hear good things and bad things about them. You know,
We're
like,
in DPG, Dental
You're in-
Purchasing Group.
say that again?
It's called DPG, Dental Purchasing Group.
Yes. Now they're in the Northeast. I've heard. I've actually had a call with the guy there. They're out of Boston, maybe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it works well. We get like 10% off.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that sounded like a bad word. I think he was actually saying shipping. I think that it got cut off.
Okay, I'm looking up my. I was gonna go. Well, I'm trying to find the website for that. But Dave, are you still with us? We lost him. Okay, I'm getting the website. I'll pull that up so we can share with everybody.
While Paula's doing that, Dr. Singh and Dr. Kress, I want you to see Ted Morgan. Ted, wave your hand. Wave your hand there. That's one of our coaches for you have access to, and Jen's in Alaska too. You have access to Jen as well. So they're here to support you. Ted's a master clinician who'll help with treatment planning if you ever want, and vision and all those things. And then Jen is a master at case presentation and case acceptance, and she's running the show. And Alaska, and I got to brag on Jen because I know she won't do it herself. Paula, she collected $105,000 in one day.
Whoa,
Oh,
that's
Boom.
awesome. Woohoo! Boom.
Boom. Holy cow. Congratulations, Jen.
That's
That was
fantastic. Congratulations, Jen. Jen's in her car.
Amazing.
That's
But I'm parked.
that's good.
She's not actually driving.
That's good.
No.
That's good. So dental purchasing group. I don't know if Dave is with us, but Ted, have you been in this before too?
I have, but I can't speak to it.
Okay.
I pretty much have. I haven't even been in the office for a few weeks.
Yeah, right. You're
don't have
you're
a lot
actually
to
in
do
your
with-
RV at the moment,
Yeah.
aren't you?
I am at the moment as we speak. Yeah, I delegate the ordering, and you know,
Okay.
other than that, I know nothing.
There's a
Huh.
fee to join. There's a fee to join DPG. It's not a lot. If you're a Denvantage member, it's free.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
but,
good to know.
Yeah. And it's it's one of those things that it wouldn't go out of your way for, but it's like a no-brainer if you're going to get some % off different companies that you order from anyway.
Okay.
Use it for.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I have not heard. I heard about them, several years ago, but have not kept up with what they were doing and all that kind of stuff. It's probably 2014 since I heard from them. So it's really good to have that information. So thanks, Dave, for sharing that with us.
Hey, Paula,
yeah.
I have one concern. What was on your screen? You have 173 unread emails, and I want you to know I'll be praying for you now. Moving forward, I saw that.
Thanks. Thank you, Eric. I didn't
It's
mean
called
to show
DELEETE, delete.
It's a group. It's a group. There's a fee for it, but you just
LEETE. Okay, thanks, Dave. I'll write that down. Okay. Yeah, I
no, I
didn't
didn't get that
to
email.
show that page. It's been a crazy day. What can I say?
173 emails today.
I think this is my seventh or eighth call. I don't even know. I've lost count. Okay, guys. So anything else on supplies? Jen, what do you guys do in your office? How are you managing your budget on supplies?
We've stayed with Henry Schein. But we tend to order 3-month supplies at a time, so our stock supply is huge.
Oh, okay.
My doctor, he has like this conspiracy theory that they're going to run out of supplies. So we've ordered way more supplies than we needed about a year ago. So I don't think we've thought about it as much, but I have heard about the Darby, and we've used a little bit of Burkhart, so we're keeping the lines of communication open, mostly with Burkhart and Schein.
Okay.
And you know how you keep your supply budget in line? You collect $105,000 in one day.
Oh yeah.
That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
We also have just signed up with Patterson as a DSO. If you order enough, we have 2 offices, but if you order enough supplies from one company, then you might get into a different bracket. It's something they wouldn't have told us. We found out about it and researched it. So it's just something you might want to look at. Just say to your supplier, and just say, look, this is getting difficult for us. What can we do to make this better? And ask them, and they may lower their fees.
And I would also say who's ordering your supplies is really important. I find it very easy to spend other people's money, and I don't really follow a budget when that's happening. And who's checking it in, and are you using a card that you get some sort of benefit, cash back, miles, whatever it is on? Do all the things. Make sure they have a budget. Make sure they know that they should be priced. Get a really, really thrifty team member ordering your supplies and following a budget. It's worth every penny. We talk about 10 minutes of wasted time every day is for a year's worth a week off. You took a week's vacation, losing those 10 minutes a day every day. Just like $10 a day, right? You add up $10 every single day and wasted supplies and what you're doing. You won't want to do the math on that, right? $20,000 or whatever it is. So don't get don't get discouraged in in the price so much, make sure it's being utilized and budgeted, and we're not overusing certain supplies. Don't reuse your gloves on different patients. I'm not saying that, but but make sure that you're being reasonable with it. You know, all of a sudden you see someone dumping a box of unused shelf life stuff. That's going to be really frustrating.
Mhm.
Yeah, supply management is a huge deal, and it doesn't get a lot of attention.
We don't spend much time talking about it, that's for sure.
Monitoring expiration dates on things, and giving them a budget, using a tag system if that's what you choose to do. There's Amazon too, by the way, guys. Amazon Business. Is anybody using Amazon Business?
Oh yeah, we are.
Some things.
Forgot
Are
about
you?
Amazon. Yep. Mhm.
Okay, Jen, you too. Okay, that's a good
How does that
one.
work, Jen? What are you ordering there, and how does it work?
I need to check with the assistant. I think she's getting a floss. She's getting chair covers. I think they're doing a Costco run now for some bags. Instead of using the Henry Schein bags,
Yeah.
we're just using, they're clear bags. They look just like the normal bags, and so it
Mm.
doesn't look any different. But I think we're doing a Costco run too for things like that.
Good. Yeah, she's being thrifty then. That's good.
Good
Oh
to
yeah,
know.
she's very thrifty.
Good.
Is there a separate division of Amazon that sells dental supplies, or is just
Amazon Business.
Yeah, we've
So-
used that too, Paula.
Do
Mhm.
you? Okay. Oh,
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
What did you buy, Dr. Watson, on Amazon Business?
Oh, a lot of just basic office supplies and cleaning supplies, and you can get some dental supplies there too, you know. But we always kept a good relationship with Patterson, because where we were, if something went out, like our compressor or something, we needed somebody who knew what they were doing to come service it. So
I hear that a lot.
yeah, we kept them on a short list. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that was worth doing. Yeah. But we tried to save when we could.
Yep. Yep. So I know Amazon's been emailing me lately. You could have saved whatever if you had a Amazon Business account. So I think you have to, I don't know exactly the process, but you go into here and do a small business, open an account, get some discounts on some things that you buy, maybe that you're paying full price for on Amazon. I don't know the ropes, but I've had some teams do this. So hopefully, oh, I see my 173 up there. Way to look, Eric. I was trying to be fast. Okay. So good stuff. What about your first quarter? Can you believe first quarter's up?
Wow.
Did everyone have a good first quarter? Was it like comparable? What did you see in your first quarter? Anybody want to talk about that? We don't have to share numbers or anything if you don't feel comfortable, but just what trends did you notice in first quarter? Anybody?
Keep in mind, March of 2021 was a record month for probably 90% of our clients. It was a long month.
Yes.
It was a booming month. So this great Q1 in 2021. And now we look at quarter one this year, and we're trying to compare apples to apples and how do we do? And I'm seeing a lot of offices have their best quarter ever as well.
Yeah, I have too. I've been looking at that the last few days. And then I've seen some with the COVID outbreak in January, February caused a lot of cancellations, and they got behind and they haven't really caught up yet. Anybody experiencing that? March was a long month this month. March is a good time to make up from the winter months. So what do you guys do for your quarter? Ted, what do you do like at the end of first quarter? Do y'all have a meeting? How do you talk about your quarter?
We don't talk about quarters as quarters typically. Just going back to this quarter that just ended, we had January was, I think, a little off. February was probably average, and March was a record. the only month that was bigger than this March was it June or July, after the shutdown. And was that 21 or 20?
20.
20. Yeah. Yeah, we had this huge month after the shutdown, but also the office was open more hours, everybody worked longer days, and so that's really an outlier. So take that one out, it was a record.
Yeah.
But we look at, we kind of look at the whole year and how are we doing, how are we on track, and typically first and second quarter are stronger than third and fourth quarter. We don't know why, but it's pretty consistently been the case. So next month we're going to have a meeting about how we stay on track for the rest of the year. And meet
That's
our
good.
goals.
That's good. That right there, because you've got the big push at the beginning of the year to get the year off to a great start, and then summer happens. People take vacations.
Yeah, it really happens in Maine because everybody's got all this pent up need for warm weather and time off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have to, then after summer happens, you get September and school starting back, August, September, and people lose focus. And then you get into holidays. October can be a shining star in the quarter, and then you get into holidays, and then we lose people.
Yeah.
So if we don't think globally about the year, it can get away from us. True. And so what is it, Jen? What do you guys do for quarter? Do you do some analysis, or are you just always doing that? Do you do anything different at the end of each quarter? Do you have like a longer meeting or do reports?
Yeah, so we are keeping tabs on that on a daily basis. We ended up changing. We have 2-3 hygienists and 2 doctors. So we were finding at the morning huddle during the morning, we were like, oh, we're over goal by this amount. But we really pinned it down because one of the doctors carries most of the weight to saying hygiene 1, your goal is 1,500 and you're scheduled at 1,100. Hygiene 2, this is your goal. Doctor 1, this is your goal. Doctor 2, this is where you're at for the month. So being able to hold each provider accountable instead of looking at it as a whole practice goal really shifted things for this quarter. So we look at it daily per provider and we call out what everybody's scheduled for the day. And then we look at it monthly and we say, you were under goal, Doctor 1, by this amount, and Doctor 2, you were over goal by this amount. So you've basically carried the practice. Yeah, that's really shifted the behavior and the mindset since we started doing that in January, and looking at everybody's individual goals as the whole practice goal as well. And then looking and saying, we didn't meet goal because everybody's celebrating, the team's celebrating, wow, March was such a great month. Well, actually it wasn't, because we're digging ourselves out of the hole from January and February.
Yeah.
So technically we're not 50,000 over goal. We're actually just 10,000 because we were behind and we had to pull a little bit more weight in the hygiene department or whatever it is. So that's how we look at it. And we really hold each department and provider accountable for what they're doing. And the assisting team is held accountable for the doctors that they're working with. And so we look at that and we focus on where do we need more new patients? Do we need case acceptance?
That's great.
That's how we look at it.
That's really good because, you'd be surprised. I know, Eric, we talk to teams all the time and we'll say, what's your goal? And they'll give me a number, but they don't know what's hygiene goal, what's doctor goal. They're just looking at the goal for the day. And you can easily have the ones, like you said, the doctors that are carrying the weight, or hygienists. I've got a couple of teams where the hygienists are carrying the weight of the practice. They're like 50% of the practice. And the doctor's slacking a little bit, So it's good to look at those numbers. So I have some reports that I'll pull up. Do y'all have like a list of reports? Do you have like a stockholders meeting? Dr. Watson, tell us about your stockholders meeting.
Stockholders meeting?
You guys did a great job with this. You gave everyone like a clipboard and a calculator.
Yeah, we would go over the tracker and Yeah, at first it was kind of like blank stares, but once they got used to it, a lot of times I didn't hardly say anything. They just, took each section, their hygiene and restorative side, and we went over the whole thing. Yeah, like that. Hmm.
And
Practice
you would
evaluation.
assign different people to
Mhm.
have different reports to bring
Yeah,
to the meeting.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
I mean, you don't have to look at all of these, but these are some samples of things that a lot of people don't even know are available in their software or from the tracker. Some are not available in software and are from the tracker. But just some things to look at. I was talking to somebody today about the P&L, and you don't have to necessarily share that with your team if you don't want to share the numbers, but you can share the percentages. And this was a group practice, and one of the leaders was saying, well, I don't understand why this doctor, if he used to own his own practice and now he's in the group with us, why isn't he interested in his goals and his numbers? And I'm like, you'd be surprised at how many solo dentists don't look at their P&L. They don't want to look at their P&L. They're scared of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
you know so so here's a lot of things that are on this list. If you want a copy of this list, just let us know. But what are some reports, Eric, that you think
Well,
are important right now?
you mentioned something really cool, and so did Jen, that we're having, most employees can't think globally, like Paula was saying. They can't think big picture, but you can show them a small number that allows them to think big picture. For example, daily goals by provider, like Jen was saying. And then at the end of the month, oh, wow, this was a great month. Now we compared this month, March versus March last year. And then you also compare year to date this year compared to year to date last year. Now that's for the team. On your coaching KPI side, we should also be running a QuickBooks profit and loss previous year comparison year to date every single month with a percent of income column. That means I'm looking at every single line item. Dental supplies, here's what we spent last year to date, here's what we spent this year to date, and what percentage of my income is that, and does that fall in the guideline? And we're looking at that together. You may or may not share some of these numbers with your team, definitely not all of them. Payroll's the big one we look at, dental supplies and dental labs. So that's really what I would focus on. Like, all of my coaching calls this month in April have been with doctors one-on-one that have been with me long enough. We're looking at year to date Q1 ending this year versus Q1 last year.
Yep.
We have one client who didn't have a better quarter because she was in the hospital for like 2 weeks with pneumonia. So she's playing out of that. Maybe a couple that were really close are right there, but we always are looking for at least 5% growth. So we're always saying, okay, how are we growing over last year? How are we growing over last year? And then if we're not, then we break it down from there and go, well, why not? And usually it's an outlier like hospitalization or lost I have an office, they lost a hygienist. Another office lost an assistant, so they haven't been able to schedule appropriately. So, hey, on a side note, I want to read something from my DSO friends at Aligned. I just want you guys to know they're really amazing. And so I text Chris McClure there about ordering, and he says, we actually don't use any dental supply sites with our size because they're working with big DSOs. We have a negotiated rate with Darby that all our clients participate in, typically saves a solo office 30% plus on dental supplies. I said, well, that's a great brag, Chris. How does that help me? I didn't say that. His next text said, we can extend that to some of your offices if needed.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I said, all right, how are we going to extend that? And so
Sweet.
we're going to we'll figure this out. We'll get an email together with Chris over to Aligned and say, hey, we're going to introduce this office, let's say Dr. Kress's office, to Aligned. And then Aligned's going to take it from there and introduce you to Darby in that regard and see if that helps you. Maybe you already have that deal with Darby. But if not, they're going to go, boom, you're in this network of dentists, a big group at no charge to you. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I think
Yeah.
Chris would just say, speak of him kindly when you refer to him. At
Awesome.
So
That's wonderful.
We'll get some more information on that, and If you're listening to this, hold me accountable with an email. Say, hey, Eric, where's my Darby Connect email to Align Dental Partners? And we'll go from there.
There you go. There you go. Well, this is the power of the mastermind here. You know,
Who you know, right? In the
we all have the answer for somebody.
Yeah.
So good first quarter assessment, doing a stock market, stockholders meeting with your team, giving them
State of the
assignments
union.
to report on so it keeps them engaged, getting them to participate. Here's a rule of thumb I follow is don't let the team hear the numbers from you. You want the team reporting the numbers to you. So this is president and cabinet model. Think about dictator government. The dictator is always the one giving the orders, telling people what the state is, what the state of the union is. President and cabinet is the cabinet reports to the president about their department. And that's a more effective model because it gets the team engaged. They don't want to hear the numbers from you. It's much more effective. You already know the numbers, but they're reporting to you what the numbers are for their department. So think about that shift, and you get more team ownership, you get more team engagement with that is what I found. Dr. Watson, Dr. Watson's team, they're one of the fastest acting teams that I can recall. We would do the analysis and we would show a certain situation that needed to be addressed. I mean, it was not long at all, a month or two, and it was taken care of, right, Dr. Watson?
Yeah, they're very, very responsive. Yeah,
They were
exactly.
on the ball.
Yeah.
They took ownership of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was
Another way is we have in our team room we have a huge TV, and we put the tracker and things up on there so everybody can look at it and report on their section, whatever.
that's
Yeah.
great. That's a perfect way to do it. I love it. Okay. Any other questions that are coming up? I want to bring up, while we're talking about numbers a little bit, I want to bring up a question for you. How many of you know your conversion rate from new patients to comp exams? Does anybody measure that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
So to clarify, you're saying, Paula, if you saw a new patient for a cleaning or emergency that wasn't, how good are you at converting them to a comp exam?
Yeah. So you take, let's say you had 50 new patients. Out of the 50 new patients, how many complete exams did you really do?
How many? So first time visitors, how many they turned over into a comp exam? D0150. Okay.
Yeah. So you take your number of new patients and divide
Could
by
be a
over.
consult, right? Could be a consult. They just come in and see you and they're just talking to you. How
Mhm.
good are you at converting them to comp exams? Yeah.
So the goal is 80%. And I have some practices who are there and even higher. And then others, they're maybe 30% because they're seeing a lot of one and dones. I have a team that does that. They do a one and done report. Who are those people and how are we going to follow up with them? So think about that. That's a number to go back and ask your team to research that code and ask them for the report, instead of telling them what it is. You can go look it up if you want, but just ask them to bring it to the meeting. And then also your new patient value. Has anybody done that? Your new patient worth? Ted, I bet you've done that in the past. Dave?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Patient value.
Yeah.
There's the analytical way to do it and go through every new patient and add up their production in a X number of months after their exam. And the quick and dirty way, I think Jay Geyer uses, is just to take your total number of new patients, your total production, do the division, and use that as a comparison number. Even though it's not truly the accurate number, it does give you a sense of how you're doing.
Yeah. Dave, what do you guys do?
We have not done it in a little while, but when we did do it, which was a good thing to do, we would pick a period of time, a few weeks, for instance, in which we would track every new patient, and then a year later, or actually it's 9 months. 9 months later, look at those same patients. How much did they spend?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
our technique.
I think there's some softwares who will do a new patient report with what they spent, like their first visit. But what we're talking about is like a time frame, like you said, 9 months to a year in the practice. How much did they spend over that time? Eric, how do you look at it?
Well, and I was going to share my screen, but I don't want to share patient information because this will end up on YouTube for
Yeah.
everybody to watch again. So we use the case presentation tracker. I
Yeah.
think this one has blanks in it. I'll share my screen here now.
Yeah.
This is just a snippet, right?
Yeah.
So you could see, we use this for tracking. And if it's a new patient, we put the date in this column right here. So we can see we presented 13 new patients. And if you want to put existing patients in, you can. And there's 15. So they presented 28 patients, total of 79,000. And the average case size was 2814. Well, if they're going to include existing patients, my bare bones is 2,500 or more. I mean, it's got to be more than that. It's going to, so they did a pretty good job there. They got 2,800 scheduled. So that tells me the larger case is scheduled. We're looking for 80% of the people to schedule and 60% of the dollars or more. They probably played it too safe. And I can tell you this client now presented, they're averaging like 140,000 presented a month. So what you measure, you improve. So we've really helped them see. And what I want Ted Morgan coaching offices on is exactly that. Well, now tell me why to give you an example here, why with this new patient was there one filling? Well, what were you seeing there? Okay, why was it with this new patient? It was just Invisalign. What did you see there? And really figure out, their average case size. So if you wanted to figure out your new patient value, you could just eliminate your existing patients from this tracker. You'd get your average case size and you would just track new patient case acceptance. And to me, that would be the absolute cleanest way to do it. And here, if they don't schedule, you've got a follow-up column that matches what you have in your dental software with their unscheduled appointment. Okay. And froze up. Let's fix that. So that's how I would do it, Paula. That would be the most trusted way to do it. If you
It
say,
really is. It's the best way.
Yeah.
And it gives you a great follow-up tool as well. I mean, I know a lot of,
yeah.
I've got a team using Power BI, and they're watching these things, the new patient worth and all of that. So, I mean, there's lots of tips and tricks, but that's a great tracker. And I think it's important to know what's the why behind that. Than just knowing your new patient worth. The why behind that is because you can see how effective you are at case presentation and acceptance. You can also look at your marketing dollars. If you're attracting a lot of new patients who don't need any treatment, you may want to shift your marketing focus.
Right. You could see right in there, new patient, 0 presented, new patient, 0 presented. You could backtrack and go, well, what was the marketing source that brought that patient? And is there a consistent theme to it? Yeah, you get into it some more for sure.
Exactly right. So good stuff.
Yeah, if you don't have that tracker, just email us. We have a YouTube training on it, and your office can be using it. Now for Dr. Singh and Dr. Kress, we're just starting with the regular tracker. So get that under your belt. And then once you guys are comfortable with that in the office, then we'll add something like this to you guys to help with really, that's about effectiveness. It's follow-up and effectiveness.
It is.
Yeah.
So Eric, we're about ready to wrap up. What's coming up in June? Excitement.
I just was texting Chris about this saying, hey, would you want to talk to the whole doctors and spouses group about what a transition looks like with a DSO? I mean, I think it's important for everybody to know what they don't want and what they do want for the final chapter of their career, whether it's bringing on associates, whether it's how to sell your practice, whether it's just bringing on associates and not selling your practice. Ted can talk about that, and managing it. And so it's all and what are you doing outside of dentistry? And even if you're, 30-year-old dentist, Walter taught us at the end of the day, the ultimate purpose of any business is you're going to sell it for a profit at some point down the line, and not
there you go.
And so we want to make sure all of our clients are well prepared in that final stage of transition. And I don't think it's too soon to plan for that. Everybody wants to add an associate or grow or figure out, well, when do I add that? When will I want to transition? And hear from some people who've done it and how they did it and what worked and what didn't work, so you can avoid those same mistakes. Yeah.
So Ted, Dr. Morgan here has a survey that we're going to be sending out probably in May, closer to our retreat time. And I'm really excited about this retreat because it's going to be in person. It's going to be here in Tennessee. Yay, Dr. Kress! You can just drive over here. It's going to be in the neighborhood where I am. We haven't done one in person in a while.
Yeah.
So we've been doing the Zoom camps, and so I'm very excited about having everybody here kind of in my neighborhood. We have a meeting room up at the golf course now.
And we are going to have a meeting on the golf course the day before the program starts.
Yeah, right.
On Thursday.
Okay.
And Dr. Watson's going to share with us his golf secrets. Dr. Watson, you play golf almost every day, don't you?
Only days that I absolutely have to.
And Dr. Watson's going to be
Days that
talking.
end in Y.
Yeah.
Didn't why? Yeah.
He's going to be sharing with us all kinds of things, and I'm excited about that. Dr. David Johnson's going to be talking. He has an amazing grass-fed cattle business, along with being a dentist full-time. Who are you apart from being a dentist? So we're going to have some great conversations about that and planning for the future and preventing burnout. So even if you're not ready to talk about transition, you could be talking about preventing burnout. Yes.
That's good.
Lots of fun we're going to have together. So if you want to join us in June, Friday, Saturday, doctors and spouses, if you have one. If you don't, that's fine.
And I think too, Paula, I think if we can line up some speakers, they might just speak for an hour on these on different topics, but they might just join us virtually. But we'll be there when they leave to talk about what we thought about that. Would that work for us? Would that not work for you, and why? And be able to bounce those theories off the wall. I think the challenge, and probably some people who are going to watch this recording could be thinking about is, oh, I'm not ready for that chapter yet.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I think that's where we run into problems, because the minds that we have that can share from it are here now.
Yes.
I don't think, some of the minds who are sharing in 20 years want to share what they learned, in the last 5 years, 20 years from now. They're going to tell us now. So now you can start planning for, well, what do I want it to look like? What's my vision for that? And how do I want to transition cleanly and in a beautiful way? And so it's going to be exciting to be in a room together, rubbing elbows and figuring out how to do it well. So looking forward to it. It'll be awesome. Dr. C, pretty close drive for you too. Right? I know he's in North Carolina. Yeah. Gary, yeah. He's muted right now though, so I'm talking for him while his lips move. I'm saying what he's saying.
Sorry.
There he is. All right.
I was saying that those dates I booked my flight to India, so I'll be in India.
Oh, will you? You have another doctor from India that's going to be in India at that time too. So
okay, yeah.
Maybe you'll be on the same flight. I don't know. All right. Paula. Yes. Paula, do you like how my virtual background matches your virtual background? Oh, yeah, right. I miss your fish, Eric. Yeah, I love your flowers. Thanks for bringing those in. You just didn't match your shirt to the flowers. Yeah, this vacation thing gets in the way. I know it. I tell you what. Yeah. Okay, guys, it was fun having you and meeting some of you for the first time. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month. Thank you. I'll hang out for a minute too, Paula. If you can stop the recording, I'll hang out for a minute. Okay. All right. Okay. If anybody wants to stick around for a second.